Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel where we talk about everything grad life, grad advice, and research. My name is Brisa Marie, and I'm a PhD student at UCLA. And in today's video, we are going to talk about the most important parts to a graduate application and what to consider in order to be a strong graduate applicant. And what makes today's video particularly special is that I've invited some of my friends across UCLA's graduate programs, including the arts, social sciences, and even STEM fields, to come today and share their advice on what make them competitive applicants and what they think you should consider while applying to competitive programs like UCLA. So if you want to learn how to get into any graduate program and hear firsthand advice from UCLA graduate students on graduate admissions, then this video is for you. Generally, the most important part of your graduate application would be your personal statement and your statement of purpose. And your personal statement is going to be basically your journey to this research question. It's going to describe who you are and why you want to pursue this research. Your statement of purpose is a little bit different in the sense that it's going to really discuss how getting this degree will help you pursue your own personal goals and what your unique approach to research will do for academia, the field in general, or just the greater society more broadly. Within these documents, you need to be able to demonstrate a well thought out research question that can be addressed through your proposed research plan. While your plan and even your research questions may change drastically by the time you actually get into grad school, what this is going to do is demonstrate that you have given this a lot of thought and that you are considering the logistics and the feasibility of your proposed research project at the given institution to which you are applying. Now, I know for a lot of us, GPA can also prove to be a little bit intimidating because it's something that you've done in the past, and by the time you're applying to your graduate program, there's really no fixing it. But I think it's important to know that even if your GPA isn't necessarily the greatest, it doesn't necessarily have to make or break you. Within your application, if you have a GPA that you're not very proud of, something that could help you is within your personal statement, really unpack what caused you to get a GPA like that. What are the plans that you have to improve your GPA if admitted into the graduate program, and how you have changed or improved as a student to assure you won't make those same mistakes again in grad school. For the most part, graduate schools are really interested in problem solving and critical thinking. So if there is a problem like a not so good GPA, then you are thinking through solutions to make sure that you will have a better GPA in the future. And this also goes for your research question. If there is a research problem, you through your application are going to demonstrate the steps or processes to allow you to develop a research plan that encourages you to find solutions to that research problem or research question. This way, they're able to see that you have a growth mindset, that you are mature, and also critically thinking about the field and the research that you're interested in order for you to develop a strong research plan that can be executed within this institution or this degree program. Because ultimately, nobody wants you to fail as a graduate student. And so the graduate application or the graduate admissions team is really trying to assess each applicant to make sure that they are mature, they're confident, and prepared to pursue a research question and be able to execute their research plan. So your entire graduate application, from your standardized tests to your personal statements and even your letters of recommendation, are all trying to help the graduate admissions committee assess your ability to succeed and not necessarily your intelligence. So as you're preparing your graduate application, the most important thing is not necessarily to show how smart you are or how well you did in undergrad, but rather really demonstrate that you have critical thinking skills, that you are mature and confident in your research project, and that you understand the logistics and the feasibility and relevance of your research project to this particular program to which you are applying. So while I'm not going to spend a lot of time within this particular video talking about your letters of recommendation recommendation, I do think it is important to make sure that your letters of recommendation are written by people who are credible, who understand who you are and your personal goals, and have a strong understanding of your ability to critically think, to create solutions, and to follow through with your goals. So once you've completed your personal statement or your statement of purpose, it's a great idea to send that to your letters of recommendation so they can also talk about your research plan and how thought out or how well prepared or how perfectly you are fit to this program, and write that within their letter to best advocate for you. Because again, graduate schools aren't really interested in hearing how great of a person you are or how smart you are, because generally if you made it out of undergrad and you have a pretty okay GPA and you're thinking about graduate school, then you most likely have the intellectual capability to succeed. In essentially every part of your application, you want to be able to demonstrate that you have thought out all or as many details as you can of your research project and how it's related to this particular graduate school and graduate degree. And having your letters of recommendation include that into their letters will also make you seem like a strong candidate, because they can see that you are communicating and working with others to also work towards your goals. But I'm not the only one who feels that way. So I'm gonna send it over to my friend KJ, who will share her experience and her advice as an MFA student in the World Arts and Cultures and Dance Department at UCLA.
Hello, my name is Kara Janelle Wade. I am a second year MFA student here at UCLA in the World Arts and Cultures Department of Dance. And my Master's of Fine Arts is in Choreographic Inquiry, where I am studying and researching the representation of Black women in media, film, and choreography. I believe what made me a competitive candidate to get into UCLA was my field experience. As an artist, I came in as a full-blown working artist. I had about 7-8 years of commercial industry work under my belt, along with residential work at different universities. I've traveled the world as a teaching artist and doing my own research. I'm continuing to work with artists in LA and in the commercial field for music videos, tours, commercials, film, shows, production. And so with that experience, along with my love and drive for education and academia, I believe they were able to see that I was passionate, not just about what I wanted to do, but also successful in what I had pursued thus far. So everyone is different, and they're looking for a variety and a range when it comes to what you have to offer in this program and what they think you'll be able to gain. I think the biggest thing is they want to be able to see your trajectory and know where you're headed, and can this program actually assist you in getting there. For me, it was my transition going from performer into choreography. So that's why the dance program, and specifically going into the choreographic inquiry program, was beneficial for me. I think everybody needs to focus on how to highlight their best assets and what they have done thus far, not in the sense of trying to impress the professors and faculty, but just to show what their intentions are in this program and what do they look to gain from it. I would say that the most important part of the application, I'm torn between recommendation letters and personal statement. Those go so far. I know I reached out to some of the most respected people that I work with and that could speak to my professionalism, to my work ethic, to my passion, my drive, and that have known me for years. So I reached out to my undergraduate mentor, advisor, and professor, who I love dearly and who helped me through my entire undergraduate experience and has been able to see me flourish as an artist. I also reached out to the CEO of the nonprofit I was teaching for in Inglewood Unified School District, PS Arts. I also reached out to the company director and founder of Step Africa, a company I toured for internationally and off Broadway for years. So I went to the best people that I thought, one, were respected and also that could speak highly on my behalf, to let them know, from leadership roles, from top in academia, CEOs, directors, that I am a good candidate for this program. I think that spoke highly for me. And then I would say personal statement, because that's when they get to know who you are, and where, out of your own words, you're able to depict why you are applying and what you want out of this program, and why they would benefit from having you at UCLA the same way that you would benefit from being there.
Another common piece of advice that a lot of applicants get is to make connections. More specifically, a lot of people are encouraged to reach out to faculty before applying to a program. But when you're reaching out to professors, sometimes it's just kind of hard to know what to say. So generally, it's really important that you provide a brief introduction into who you are and why you're reaching out to them. Then you should really provide a succinct explanation of what your research goals or your research ideas are and how their research or their background helps you, excites you, encourages you to move towards your research. Then you want to explain why you are reaching out to them. And this could be by mentioning articles or books that you've read by this professor or interviews that you've seen online or in person, but really demonstrating that you're reaching out to them for a purpose and that it's not random. And this way, again, going back to the previous ideas of showing that you have critical thinking skills, but you're also working to create a very strong research plan. This helps demonstrate that, again, you are thinking out the steps or the logistic of your research project and the feasibility or the likelihood of your project can be done. And another thing that you would want to include in this email is really asking them if they are accepting students. Because if you have a faculty member that really excites you or inspires you and does amazing work, but they are not accepting students and they're the only ones in that department that work on a project relevant to yours, then the likelihood of you getting into that project becomes very, very small. These initial emails also help you do a sort of vibe check, because if you reach out to a professor and they respond to you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable or makes you feel like they're being aggressive or flippant, then that also lets you know that this may not be the best professor that you would want to work with in the future. So on one hand, you're trying to put yourself and your foot through the door and let somebody in the program know that you're interested and a competitive applicant. You also are kind of interviewing them or checking them out to make sure that this is even a space that you'd want to be in. But of course, sometimes faculty members just don't respond at all. And that doesn't mean to give up and to lose all hope. Instead, I would encourage you to continue with the application or even reach out to some of the graduate students that are in the program already and asking them about their experiences, the types of students that the program seems to invest in the most, or types of research projects that the department seems most excited about, and any advice that they would have to give to you. And this way, again, is helping you kind of craft your application to the specificities of the actual department from people who are part of the department, while also giving you the opportunity to kind of evaluate if this is a program for you. And if you keep this relationship going and they seem really kind, it wouldn't be inappropriate, as long as you kind of understand what your relationship is, to ask a graduate student who's already there if they would have time to review your application or even send their old application to you so you have an idea of what the department is looking for. Another aspect of a graduate application that I didn't actually know about until after I got accepted into UCLA's PhD program is that graduate school is all about fit. Oftentimes, when you get rejected from a graduate program, it's not because you're not smart enough or you weren't prepared enough or you were incompetent, but rather the reality is graduate schools have a much smaller acceptance capacity because of the unique type of relationships graduate students are expected to have with their research project, with their faculty or advisors, and their cohort. So unlike undergrad, where any given university can accept anywhere from 200 to 1,500 students, a graduate program can accept anywhere to as small as 2 students to maybe, if it's a much bigger class, at most about 45. So in that regard, it's almost never about you not being good enough, smart enough, or competitive, but rather it's about how well do you fit with the resources, the faculty, and the research that this university and this specific graduate program has. So in those cases, it's really important that if you get rejected, that you don't internalize it as you not being competitive or not being good enough, but rather really understanding that a university for graduate programs can only accept as many students as they feel they can support and assist in reaching their academic, research, and professional goals. So when you are crafting your application, it is so important to make sure that you are explicitly stating why this particular university, and even more specifically why this particular program. And you're able to do this by really talking about the faculty that exist within the program, if they have any particular courses or specific programs that this department uses or this discipline focuses on that is going to be significant or invaluable to your own research. And then if there are any centers or other labs or anything particular to you that again will help move your research forward, then making sure that you're addressing that and putting it within your graduate application. Now, I know for my applicants who are interested in going into the STEM field, they may feel like the personal statement may not be as important as maybe their research experience or their resume. And so I thought to bring my friend Benet, who's getting her PhD in engineering, to help shed some light on what is the relevance of a personal statement to a STEM student and what are the things to consider when applying to an engineering program.
My name is Benet Ndefru, and I am a third-year PhD student in material science and engineering at UCLA. And my research focus is on the risk and reliability and resilience of renewable energy systems. So I think if I had applied right after undergrad, I probably wouldn't have been accepted very many places. I hadn't done much research as an undergrad, so I think it helped that I took time between my undergrad and grad school to work for a few years. So I worked, and that might be different from program to program, what is expected, but I worked at a national lab before applying, which gave me deeper experience, like conducting research, writing papers, presenting, and working with specific lab instruments and different techniques. And so I also developed connections there of people who could write reference letters and speak to my experience and my abilities as a researcher and a teammate. And I think I also was able to, in my application, tell a cohesive story from my personal statement to my research statement and show strong interest in contributing to a specific area of research. And I also indicated why I felt like UCLA was the right place for me to do that. Maybe in your application, indicate that you've done research on the program at the school you're interested in attending, knowing what the professors do there and the work that they're doing and why you're interested in working with that professor. And like I said, the process is different for different schools, but I think especially if people are thinking of going to a place like UCLA, definitely do what I failed to do, which is reach out to professors after applying and show interest in their research. Ask whether they're taking new students, just to develop a connection. This could help with admission, but I think more importantly, it would just help you have fewer problems like securing funding and guidance and that sort of stuff in your first year.
By this point, you're probably starting to notice a trend, and that trend is just how important personal statements are. No matter what discipline or what department you are in, every graduate program is going to be interested in your biographical background, what your experiences are, and why this institution and specifically this degree program fits you the best. And while I imagine all of us who are applying to graduate school are amazing people that live really wonderful lives, the most important part of your application is to make sure all the information that you provide within your personal statement, your letters of rec, is directly related to your career goals, your academic goals, your research project and plan, and why you are interested in this particular program. So if you're gonna bring up your childhood or adversity that you've experienced as a marginalized person, then you also need to really explain how these experiences impact your research question, who you are as an academic, or just why you are interested in pursuing this particular grad degree at this graduate university. So if you happen to be somebody who wants to talk about your experiences as a woman of color or as somebody with a disability, definitely include it in your application. Just make sure that the way you are integrating it into your application is demonstrating that it is pushing you towards your academic and professional goals and that you are learning from those experiences. But of course, there are a lot of different ways to demonstrate that you fit into a graduate program. So I invited my dear friend Michelle to come and talk about how her experiences and her background helped make her a strong and competitive applicant to UCLA's Luskin School.
My name is Michelle Viurato. I went to the UCLA Luskin School to pursue a Master of Public Policy. And just a little bit about me. I work in government and community relations. I'm very passionate about higher education. My interest in public policy very much stemmed in wanting to figure out how to influence policy and make decisions that impact my community. To be honest, I was one of those people that absolutely thought that I was not going to get into UCLA. So I don't necessarily know exactly what made me competitive, but I can say that I wasn't extremely confident about my GPA. I was over a 3.0, but still under a 3.5. And I was worried about my GRE because I didn't really get a good sense of what a solid GRE score was going to be. But I think that what made me very competitive was the fact that I was very involved in student advocacy. I participated in a lot of activities that allowed me to interact with legislators and the state as well as congressional representatives and talk about and highlight, the student experience and advocate on behalf of, my colleagues at my undergraduate institution. And also, I think that sort of experience helped me, as well as my passion and commitment to want to bring back everything that I learned to my community in the San Gabriel Valley. A lot of what I did was highlight how my lived experience as a child whose family was greatly affected by the Great Recession impacted, our ability to live comfortably financially and also experiencing family separation in terms of immigration status and having two parents living in two different countries. So highlighting that lived experience, talking about how that encouraged me to get really involved in student advocacy, and then also kind of paint a picture of how I was going to use the tools and skills that I was going to build for my master's program to kind of amplify the work that I was already committed to doing. Personally, I think the most important part of your application, but I absolutely think it's the statement of purpose. So your one-shot opportunity to talk about why UCLA is the institution you want to go to or program that you want to be a part of, how they're going to make that impact in your life and contribute to that sort of process in which you're going to become who you want to be. And then also just talking about yourself, right? And highlighting your work and how committed you are to doing what you say you're going to do.
But in addition to all of this advice, there's so much more to graduate school than just the application. So if you're interested in exploring more grad life, hearing more grad advice, and everything research, don't forget to subscribe. And if you found at least 2 things useful in this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up so others know that this video has good quality content. And if there are any questions that I didn't answer, or if you have any good tips or tricks about graduate applications, leave them in the comments below. Your likes, subscribes, and comments help a small YouTuber like me start to grow and bring information to more people. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.